From number 32 to number 1, I rank every starting quarterback in the NFL today. What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, back with another NFL video. In this video, ranking every starting quarterback from number 32 to number 1. If that sounds good, don't forget to spike the like button and subscribe to the channel for more NFL rankings videos just like this, because I'm going to be ranking every position in the NFL, all of them, all off season. So if you enjoy NFL rankings like this, make sure you subscribe. Hop in the comment section below and let me know where you believe your starting quarterback belongs on this list. All of my NFL position rankings this offseason are brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Not only the place to play fantasy football this summer, but the easiest way to play season-long fantasy football. No waivers, no trades, no problem. Use the code BLV and Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. I'm telling you, man, if you have never played best ball, you will get addicted. I absolutely love best ball. It's my favorite way to play fantasy football. I also love it because Underdog Fantasy is where the sharpest minds in fantasy play. So it prepares me for my leagues, having actually drafted against the sharpest ADP all summer long in actual real drafts. On my rankings, you will see the Underdog ADP above each player's name. That is the average draft position for where you can draft them on Underdog Fantasy right now. So if you spot a value, don't be afraid, jump on it. Head to UnderdogFantasy.com or the App Store now, sign up with the promo code BLV, and Underdog is going to match your first deposit up to $100. Again, Underdog Fantasy, sign up with the promo code BLV and join me for some drafts this summer. And now, let's rank some quarterbacks. Kicking off my quarterback rankings at number 32, Drew Lock, the supposed starter of the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going with Drew Lock here over Geno Smith because of how much Pete Carroll talks up Drew Lock. The guy is obsessed with Drew Lock. I don't know anybody who is as obsessed with Drew Lock as Pete Carroll. He believes in Drew Lock, but you know who doesn't? I think you can figure it out. Me. Okay, I enjoy Drew Lock's dance moves as much as the next guy. I want to see Drew Lock be successful because the man has swag, the man has charisma, he's fun, he's interesting, he's exciting, but he's bad. Like, he's straight up bad. And why is he bad? Well, it is simple. He does not think the game of football at a starting quarterback level. Period. End of story. He does not read defenses well enough. He does not make good enough decisions with the football. Even though he has a rocket arm, even though he's got pretty good mobility, even though he offers a lot of physical upside, mentally, Drew Lock is a weak player. And that is why he is the worst starting quarterback in the NFL until he proves to me that he can get better in that area of the game. I do not care how hard he can throw the football or how far he can throw the football. Drew Lock is not a good starting quarterback. My number 31, or the second worst starting quarterback in the NFL today, is Sam Darnold of the Carolina Panthers. Sam Darnold, everybody thought was going to be a new player in Carolina. Everybody thought he was going to be so much better than he was with the Jets. Well, you were wrong. I'm sorry. You were wrong. He was bad. Not just bad, horrendous, trash, flaming hot garbaggio. Like that bad, okay? Maybe worse than he was with the Jets. And I'm not trying to be mean to Sam Darnold. I was hoping he would be successful, and I hope he's successful this year. I hope he proves me wrong. But he's the second worst starting quarterback in the NFL. He's not last because there's Drew Lock, okay? Now, Sam Darnold, the problem with him is he's really bad under pressure. And the Carolina Panthers, just like the Jets, had a bad offensive line. And really, it didn't matter if it was Cam Newton, if it was PJ Walker, whoever was starting at quarterback could not handle the pressure. It was bad. It was tough on the quarterback. And Sam Darnold couldn't deal with it. Despite him possessing the feet to maneuver the pocket and sometimes even manipulate it enough to make a throw, he's too affected by it mentally. I don't know if it's something that happened with the Jets, if it's just him as a player. He makes far too many mistakes under pressure. Whether it's just a decision that goes wrong, whether it's a throw that is inaccurate behind a receiver, over the receiver's head. Sam Darnold makes bad decisions way too often, especially when there is that pressure. Now, what I like about his game is he's got a quick release. He does have deceptive mobility. He's pretty good in the short, intermediate ranges, especially the short ranges in the quick game of an offense because of that release. But once you force him to ad-lib under pressure, once you force him to make throws down the field, consistent throws over the middle of the field in the intermediate range, he's just all over the place. It's inaccurate. It's not enough power, too much touch, bad decision, bad placement. Sam Darnold just hasn't been able to put it together at the NFL level. It's sad, but it's just the truth. And I am kind of surprised that the Panthers are going into 2022 with him as the expected starter. He is the second worst starter in the NFL. My number 30 starting quarterback in the NFL today is Davis Mills of the Houston Texans. Now hold up, Texans fans, I understand you're angry, but hear me out for a second. Davis Mills, in his rookie season, I will admit, probably played more consistent, I'm not going to say better, but more consistent football than Trevor Lawrence, more consistent football than Justin Fields, and more consistent football than Zach Wilson. I don't think you're wrong about that. Why? Because Davis Mills understands how the position is meant to be played in the NFL better than those guys, and he did entering the draft. The other part of that is Davis Mills was a mid-round pick. Davis Mills was not a player that was a first-round, highly publicized, highly anticipated pick. And because of that, when he performs the way he did, he performed admirably. Not great, admirably. When you do that, where Davis Mills is picked, on the team that Davis Mills played for, with zero expectations, fans are going to love you. People are going to think you played better than you did. And that's just the way it is. But Davis Mills does some good things. I think he does a good job for a young quarterback going through his progressions, going through his reads, and oftentimes making the right decision. I think he's a fairly accurate quarterback with pretty solid mechanics. He's a big human being at the position with a long neck, and that definitely helps him stand in the pocket and deliver throws. He's a very smart guy, and I do sense that the team got behind him as the starter. And I'm intrigued to see him in year 2 to see how he develops. Can he develop? Can he take hold of this starting position and make it his long term? Now, my prediction for that is he probably won't. And the reason is I don't think his talent is immense enough for him to become a starting quarterback. I think what he is a high-end backup because of his ability to play the quarterback position and to execute an offense. And that is what Davis Mills does well. And that is why Texans fans have grown to like him. And I actually thought he played pretty well last season. So we'll see what he's got. But for now, he's just number 30. My number 29 starting quarterback in the NFL today is Marcus Mariota of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, we don't know much about the new Marcus Mariota. He has spent time behind Derek Carr as a backup quarterback and a little bit behind Ryan Tannehill as well. And the ironic part about that is that he was replaced when Arthur Smith became the OC of the Titans. Now he is Arthur Smith's starting quarterback. And the difference there, the reason Ryan Tannehill took over for Marcus Mariota was because Ryan Tannehill pushed the ball down the field. Marcus Mariota's weakness early in his career was he was way too conservative. It wasn't that he didn't have the physical ability to be a good quarterback. He can run. We know that. He can still run. We've seen glimpses of that lately. He's fairly accurate, and he's got an underrated arm. He can make a lot of the throws. It's just the mentality of making those throws. The ability to sit in the pocket, go through your reads, and just unleash that cannon. And Mariota never had that. I'm not sure if he'll ever have that. But what he does have is he's athletic. He can move around. He's going to be great in a PA boot system, getting outside the pocket, making plays. He can execute a quick game offense just as he did in college very well, and he did that very well early in the NFL. And he's a dynamic athlete who can bring more than just his arm to the table. The other thing I do worry about with Marcus Mariota is he's not exactly a big leader. He's kind of a nice guy. He's kind of a backup. He has that mentality, but he does have the upside, at least, of a low-cost option that actually offers starting level talent. So that's why I like Atlanta bringing him in, and that's why he's at this spot on the list. At number 28, Jared Goff of the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff is basically, to me, going to manage a football game, but he's not going to do anything for you to win that football game. Jared Goff at this point has very little aggression to his game. He's very safe. He'll take the check down. He'll take the underneath throw. And he does not offer, really, to me, a ton in terms of a leader off the field or a playmaker on the field. In neither regard do I feel Jared Goff stands out. And that is why I believe Jared Goff is nothing more than a placeholder for the future of the Detroit Lions franchise at that position. Jared Goff has a pretty good arm and oftentimes will surprise you with the power in his arm. He does have deceptive, almost like Joe Flacco in his prime like mobility, where he can scramble for a first down or move outside the pocket and rip a football on the run. He can do those things, and he can keep an offense in rhythm, on schedule. And he's the type of quarterback that you want if you're a team like the Lions from a year ago, where you just want to make yourself to the level where you can evaluate your team. You don't have an absolute disaster at the quarterback position. Goff has been to the Super Bowl. He's won some games. He's been successful in really good spots, in really good systems with really good players around him. And with really awesome players around him, he can be serviceable. But nothing more than that. He's not going to ever be special, and he never was special. So Jared Goff, he comes in at number 28. At number 27, Mitch Trubisky of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've always been somewhat of a Mitch Trubisky defender. I've always found that it was more Matt Nagy's fault for why that didn't work, and it looks like I might have been right. Mitch Trubisky has all the tools to be a good starting quarterback. He goes to Buffalo and he learns under Brian Daboll and watches Josh Allen, a quarterback that he's not quite like that, but he's at least similar. And you saw the jump he already took just from the offseason program there. In the preseason, he was more accurate, he was more decisive, he was more in rhythm. He looked like an NFL starting quarterback. With the Bears, he was so inconsistent, so erratic, so unsure of himself, And they never really put him in an offense that truly suited his skill set. If they find that in Pittsburgh, Trubisky has a really good arm, really good legs to make plays and run around, and that was really maybe his best asset in Chicago. I feel you still have some potential left in him. He's still young. I think something underrated about Trubisky as well is that little bit of fire that he brings to his football team when things are going well. And I think that he's got much more potential left to offer than somebody like Jared Goff. So that's why I have him a spot ahead, even though he didn't really play last year. But we've seen plenty of Trubisky lately to understand how good and how talented he can be at his best and how bad it has been at his worst. But remember, when you look at Trubisky's actual results, his wins and losses, his stats, they're not as bad as you may think. He's actually won a lot of games, and I believe he's been in the playoffs multiple times. So maybe the development is coming for him, maybe not, but I think he's still got some talent to be a low-end starter in this league. At number 26, Tua. Yep, Tua. Dolphins fans have been waiting for this one and are probably going to argue he should be higher on the list. But I'm not going to shred Tua. I'm not going to rip into him. I'm going to be positive here and say that Tua offers some skills that's going to make your offense pretty interesting and tough to stop. Now, what I like about his game is, first, I love his quick release. And I love how that pairs with how he sees the game. I think he does a good job of reading the defense, seeing where he wants to go with the ball, and deliver it there quickly. Now, he doesn't have the greatest arm in the world, but the quick game is an area of strength for Tua, specifically RPOs. Fabulous in that department. On top of that, anything over the middle of the field, he's going to deliver on a dime. It's going to be accurate, it's going to be on the money, and it's going to allow yards after catch, which is huge for Mike McDaniel's offense and the weaponry that the Dolphins offer. He also, I felt this year, did a better job putting touch on his deep ball. Now, he didn't throw the ball deep a ton, but I'm more so talking about one-on-one fade balls from the slot down the sidelines for about 20 yards. Those type of passes Tua's really good at, and he understands where to put the ball for jump ball situations in the red zone and things of that nature. I think his touch and also his quick release are the two things that make Tua an interesting system-esque quarterback, for a lack of a better term. He also has pretty good mobility. He can run around, move a pocket, manipulate the pocket, slip underneath, and he's not Lamar Jackson, but he can make plays on the move. If he had that stronger arm, he would be way more dangerous in that department. But for what he has, he does a good job with it. So Tua overall is a player that I felt got better last year. I felt his arm strength actually improved. I felt his utilization of that quick game and of his mobility was good. But why he's not higher is because his game was extremely restricted and limited. Tua did not throw the ball down the field very much at all. And I know the stats back up all this stuff. He's not particularly great on the perimeter, throwing the balls to the perimeter. He's more so throwing the balls down the middle of the field. Obviously, he had the most throws in the RPO game in the NFL last year. And he was functioning behind a really bad offensive line. So all that stuff is a part of that as well. But his ability under pressure is really less than a lot of the starting quarterbacks in the league. He gets flustered a little bit and can make bad decisions. And oftentimes, because he's not a big guy And because he doesn't have a strong arm, he can't just sit in the pocket, wait for the hit, and deliver a strike. He oftentimes will get that ball turned over, tipped down, or something bad will happen. So Tua has his positives, which I don't feel I highlight enough. So I wanted to do that. But the negatives are clearly still there. And the reason I don't ever see him being a great quarterback in this league, and most likely not the answer for the Dolphins. But for now, he's at number 26. At number 25, Jameis Winston. Now, I think there's going to be some Saints fans that believe Jameis should be higher, but I feel like most other fan bases kind of understand me where I'm coming from here. When you watched Jameis Winston a year ago, something stood out to me. His lack of aggression stood out to me. Jameis Winston has always been an extremely aggressive passer. Extremely aggressive, and we know too aggressive at times. That completely just didn't exist last year. Jameis was a dink and dunk passer a year ago. And really, it's weird because that's not his area of strength. I understand that the Saints receivers were not very good, but it was almost like Jameis would never try to make a throw. Never try to make a play. And he almost never made a play for this offense. Everything he did in this offense was manufactured. Nearly everything. The only thing I would say that Jameis really did is escape sacks every once in a while and extend plays better than the guys that replaced him. But otherwise, there wasn't a ton of difference between Jameis and a guy like Trevor Siemian, which to me, entering the season, is a tad concerning. Because Jameis Winston was, like he always is, a tad inconsistent on the short area game. He's not very good underneath the defense. He misses far too many layups in the offense. And that concerns me, and that's why I docked him heavily, because he was taking a lot of dink and dunk throws, but also missing a ton of them and not offsetting it with a lot of big time plays. So sure, there were some of those big time throws, but not nearly as many as we've seen in the past. I'm also concerned about the knee injury entering this season, which affects his ranking here because it seems to still be bugging him. And overall, I feel like his mechanics have always been a tad inconsistent and a bit sloppy at times. I'm a fan of Jameis Winston. I hope he does well. I hope he comes back from the injury. But he seems like a guy that physically is deteriorating and not the same player he was. Now, maybe a lot of that was the system and the players around him a year ago, but I'm concerned that Jameis Winston has gone too conservative and that his body is not allowing him to be the same player he used to be. My number 24 starting quarterback entering 2022 is the first overall pick of the 2021 NFL Draft, the quarterback that everybody told me was generational, Trevor Lawrence. Now, typically when we talk about a generational quarterback, that player the year after would be probably ranked in the top 12, the top 15 at least, or possibly even the top 10. That was not Trevor Lawrence's experience. Now, I'm not going to completely blame Trevor Lawrence for what happened a year ago. His offensive line was bad. His coach was a joke. His receiving core was hurt. His defense was not great, but honestly the better unit. And Jacksonville is Jacksonville, no offense. But Trevor Lawrence was super inconsistent. There was a stretch of time where he was possibly the worst quarterback in the NFL in terms of his overall consistency passing the football. It felt like there was a period of time during the schedule where he just couldn't trust himself to throw the ball accurately, especially outside the numbers. It was really bad at times. His feet were sloppy. His mechanics just like all over the place and led to a lot of throws in the dirt, a lot of missed targets. And Yes, Trevor Lawrence would show off his athleticism, his ability to move a pocket, his ability to run around and extend a play, and sometimes make a great throw. And other times in the pocket, there were plays where, yes, he throws an absolute missile down the right sideline for a good opportunity at a one-on-one contested catch or a touchdown. But it was few and far between. Like, those are people going through clips and trying to find these plays. I don't understand people who feel like the film backs up a great Trevor Lawrence a year ago. I don't see it. I feel like he was flustered. I feel like he was inaccurate. I feel like his mechanics were very bad. And I'm a little bit concerned entering this season. But I'm willing to say that I might not be 100% right here. There's a lot of people that think he played better than the film shows, and a lot of people, including myself, had faith that he'd be a good quarterback in the NFL, so I'm not going to completely go off of that take yet. On top of that, he's entering year 2. He's got a better team around him, more talent, more coaching, an actual head coach, and he has real talent. Like, you see his arm strength, it pops. You see his mobility, it pops. His size is a real thing. He's got all the tools, really, to be a really good player. And that is why he's at number 24, because if I were entering this season, I'm taking his talent and counting on it. But I just don't know if I saw it enough a year ago to really justify anything higher than this position. At number 23, Justin Fields of the Chicago Bears. Another rookie here on the countdown. Justin Fields surprised me the most of any of the rookie quarterbacks last season. I was not the biggest Justin Fields fan entering the draft, and Justin Fields just proved me wrong with his playmaking ability week after week after week. Now, was Justin Fields perfect? Far from it, not even close. I mean, he made a ton of mistakes. He holds on the ball way too long, and he tries to be Superman far too often. But with the Chicago Bears, you kind of have to be Superman far too often, so that almost helped him in the ranking, because some of the plays he does make with his feet or with his ridiculous size, speed combination, or just his arm are really, really good. I think the thing that surprised me the most about Justin Fields, I was really, really concerned about his mechanics entering the NFL, and I thought he made maybe more high-level throws than any rookie quarterback last year. His ability to put the ball in a tight window where the guy's not open and just thread it and just absolutely put a power ball right on the chest of his receiver was super impressive. And that's why I feel Justin Fields is at number 23 and ahead of Trevor Lawrence. Because I was just overly impressed by the good more than I was impressed by the good of Trevor Lawrence. But there was some bad. There was definitely some bad. Like I said, he needs to improve his pocket presence. He needs to improve his play under pressure. He needs to learn that he isn't the fastest human on the field and that he will be tracked down by players like Myles Garrett. And overall, I think he just needs to get better in the short game and really tighten up his release, because his release is very long and sometimes it takes too long for the ball to get there. But there's a lot of things physically to like, and there's a lot of intangibles to like about Justin Fields. So I'm really excited about him entering the future. The only thing is that his team sucks. The number 22 starting quarterback in the NFL entering 2022 is Daniel Jones of the New York Giants. The people that think Daniel Jones is one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL, I'm just going to be honest, if you're watching this right now and you're like, Daniel Jones at number 22, are you okay? I'm okay. If you think Daniel Jones is one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL, you rather don't watch Daniel Jones, you only look at Daniel Jones memes, or you just listen to everybody else. Daniel Jones is not bad at all. Is he good? No. Maybe he might be this year. Maybe. I'm just saying. But has he been bad? No, not really. His offensive line, guys, last year was the worst offensive line in the history of planet Earth. Daniel Jones is accurate. Daniel Jones has a good arm that can push the ball down the field. Last year, he wasn't really able to because the offensive line was so putrid. He had no running game. The defense was subpar. There wasn't a lot to like about the New York Giants. But when Daniel Jones was playing, they were in every game they played. And they almost won every game they played because of Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is a real threat to run the ball. He's really good on zone reads and just designed runs for the quarterback. Really good. Like probably top 5 or 6 in the NFL. Could he be a little bit less robotic and extend plays more outside the pocket to throw the football? Yes. Could he maybe be a little bit more aware in terms of players around him in the pocket to not get strip sacked? Sure. Could he not throw the ball at a defender on a screen pass every once in a while? Yeah. But Daniel Jones, I like a lot about his game. I like his legs. I like his arm. I like his accuracy. Honestly, his composure, his toughness, a lot of it. I like Daniel Jones. And I think in a better offense, with a better offensive line, with hopefully the pieces around him and a better running game, this guy can be good. And I'm going to be bold and say I think he'll be in the top 20 on this list next year. You can hold me to that if you like. But Daniel Jones is better than you think, guys. At number 21, Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts is a very tricky evaluation. He was the guy that I spent the most time on when I went back to watch all of these players. Because Jalen Hurts is a dynamic running threat of a quarterback. He's also a great person, a great leader. The team loves him. The team responds to him. He's perfect for Philadelphia. But as a passer, he is very inconsistent, and there are certain areas that he's just not that good. He's good on the run. He's good throwing the ball down the field. But when it comes to consistently throwing the ball in the intermediate areas of the field, in the middle of the field especially, he's bad. He is not very good. Like, straight up bad, guys. Like, he's bad in these areas. He is not good. Like, not starting quarterback levels in certain areas of passing the football. The team did not rely on Jalen Hurts to pass the ball a ton. And that just speaks for itself because he's not very consistent with it. He can make some incredible plays, and he's a playmaker, and he's just got this gamer edge and attitude to him that I love. And that's why I rank him this high, because of all the intangibles. And then just the guy is a gamer. He just comes up with plays out of thin air. And I love that about him. So Jalen Hurts is somebody I really like, and I hope he can improve as a passer, a traditional drop back passer. At number 20, Zach Wilson of the New York Jets. Zach Wilson is going to surprise a lot of people at number 20 because he was not good last year, not even close. But what I will say is if you dig a little bit deeper, Zach Wilson was a lot better at the end of the season last year. And also, if you just watch all the games he played, the stats don't actually show you how good or bad Zach Wilson was. The thing with Zach Wilson was it was such a big jump from college to the pros for him. It was a lot like Josh Allen, where Josh Allen early in his career was just a physical freak, and that was evident, but he made a lot of stupid mistakes and just didn't understand the NFL level of play, like when to throw the ball, where to throw the ball, when to get off the first read, when to scramble, when to slide, when to take the sack, when to throw the ball away. Zach Wilson had a lot to learn, and he learned a lot by the end of the year. He also got hurt in that stretch, which I'm concerned about moving forward. But when it comes to actual quarterbacking, Zach Wilson showed a lot of promise. He's got amazing arm talent, like already very elite arm talent. Arm angles off the charts, can throw any sort of angle. He's got great arm strength, can put the ball anywhere, can throw it anywhere. He flicks the ball on the run like 50 yards versus the Tennessee Titans. It's unreal. He can run pretty well. He escaped a ton of sacks. He escaped a ton of pressure, even though he was pressured a ton. Just speaks to how much he was pressured. The offensive line was really bad. He was dealing with a subpar running game, a bad offensive line, a receiving core that Braxton Berrios was the best receiver on the receiving core for like half the season. The defense sucked. The coaching staff was the worst other than Urban Meyer. I just feel like Zach Wilson had to overcome a ton, and he was somebody that was not willing to go down with the ship. He was just going to go and lay it all out there and just throw it, just rip the football. And I felt like he tried to make a lot of throws in a lot of plays. It didn't always work out, but that's how he learned. That's how he improved. And I expect going into year 2, a stronger player, a stronger person, right? And then also a more mature quarterback, looking at his mistakes from year 1. I think all the quarterback things that I look for, the mechanics, the accuracy, the arm strength, the mobility, everything in terms of talent is already there. It's just the quarterbacking that needs to get to that level, and he can take off as soon as this year. So that is why Zach Wilson is 20, because I'm more confident in him with all of the core things. It's the little things that need to catch up. And that's, of course, a young quarterback. It's going to get there eventually, in my opinion, and I have faith in Zach Wilson entering 2022. My number 19 starting quarterback in the NFL today is Jimmy Garoppolo of the San Francisco 49ers. Jimmy G, to me, is extremely tricky to figure out. How much of the success is Kyle Shanahan? How much of the success is the team? How much of the success is actually Jimmy Garoppolo? And to me, most of it belongs to Shanahan and the roster, and less of it belongs to Jimmy G. That is why they drafted Trey Lance in the first place, because Trey Lance physically can offer you things that Jimmy G cannot. But there are things to love about Jimmy G's game, beginning with his fearless pocket presence. He's really good in the pocket, and I think he's better than given credit for when he navigates that pocket, manipulates defenders, moves up and down that pocket to find the little throwing lane. And he's really good at finding different arm angles to get rid of the football. Just a quick little pass. He can do that really well. And he's also got an amazing release, quick release, accurate over the middle of the field, puts it on his receiver for great yards after catch opportunities, which is really where Jimmy G has shined as a 49er quarterback, is in the middle of the field, throwing the ball between the numbers quick. But everything outside of that, as a quarterback, is not great. Obviously, he's not super fast. He can't run around and scramble and create plays. He doesn't have a cannon for an arm. I would say his arm strength is below average. His deep ball is not very good. His touch on the deep ball is not very good. His decision making is not great. Jimmy G is the system quarterback that when everything's going well is phenomenal. It's exciting, it's fun, but then when exposed to more difficult opposition without that system carrying him, it shows big time because he can't make a play outside of the system. He hasn't been able to. And that's why Shanahan got sick of it, and that's why they lost to the Rams in the playoffs, really. Because Stafford made plays outside the system, and Jimmy didn't. And that's the end of the story right there. But again, Jimmy is a solid starting quarterback, and you can do far worse than him, especially when you consider also his personality, his charisma, his leadership skills. The team loves the guy, And he's clearly got a command in the huddle. And he's been in big games. And he's won some big games. Jimmy's a good quarterback. He's just not a great one. And that's the thing. That's why he's at number 19. My number 18 starting quarterback in the NFL today is Carson Wentz of the Washington Commanders. Carson Wentz is sort of a meme. I mean, the guy is sort of unlikable, at least from my perspective. He makes a lot of dumb plays in crucial moments. But Carson Wentz still offers pretty decent quarterback play for the most part. The thing about him is he's pretty good for about 85% of the time. You even look at how he performed a year ago, pretty good numbers, pretty good efficiency. And you go back and watch it and you say, well, yeah, he offers you more physical upside than somebody like Jimmy Garoppolo, but he makes some of the biggest boneheaded decisions in the game at the worst times possible. And that's why Carson Wentz is firmly here at number 18. Because he separates himself from some of the guys underneath him in terms of his talent, his arm strength, his mobility, his pocket presence, his size. But when it comes to decision making, when it comes to off the field leadership, those are areas of massive weakness and clear weakness for Carson Wentz. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm just not a Carson Wentz fan, especially now. I just feel like he's played out. So Carson Wentz is at number 18. The number 17 starting quarterback in the NFL today is Ryan Tannehill of the Tennessee Titans. I feel like Tannehill's moment of flirting with the top 10 quarterbacks in the league, it's kind of over now. I think that was proven with that playoff game in the divisional round versus the Cincinnati Bengals, where he had perhaps his worst game of the year in the biggest game of the year. And whenever that happens, it just leaves a sour taste in everybody's mouth. And now it feels like with the whole Malik Willis deal, it's not going well for him in the offseason. But Ryan Tannehill is a good starting quarterback. He's got a good arm, especially when it comes to throwing the deep ball with great touch and accuracy. He's one of the best deep ball throwers in the league, at least statistically over the last couple of years, and that has elevated the Titans' offense. And it fits Derrick Henry, the run game, the power run game perfectly well. It also, in terms of his personality, fits the team very well because he's sort of laid back. He's not the star of the show. He's the guy that's the secondary playmaker. He's going to sprinkle in a play with his legs or his arm every once in a while when the team needs it, but he's not the every down, just jump on my back, I'm carrying the team with my right arm all the time. That's not really Ryan Tannehill. He's kind of the guy that benefits off of the power run, or he benefits from what the defense is doing. And there's no problem with that. There's no problem whatsoever. But there's a ceiling with that, right? He's a good play action quarterback, a very underrated athlete, and a decent, at times, drop back passer. You can see him get in a rhythm, but that's certainly not an area where you want him living all game. He benefits a ton from that run game and that play action game. But I will say, physically underrated player and still a good starter, but maybe not quite as good as he really was during that stretch of the last 2 to 3 years. My number 16 starting quarterback in the NFL today is Mac Jones of the New England Patriots. Mac Jones plays the position of quarterback like a much older man. He is by far the top rookie on this list. Super smart, picks up things quickly, extremely accurate, especially in the middle of the field and the short to intermediate range, but also showed incredible touch on deep passes. Now, the weakness for Mac Jones is really his arm strength. He's got an average to below average NFL starting quarterback arm, but that doesn't mean he can't make every throw, because he does and he can. He has extremely rare touch on the football, where he can put it right on the money wherever on the field to whoever, whichever type receiver you want to go to. But that arm strength means sometimes those tight windows can be tricky for him, and defenses can jump that football and they can bait him into bad throws as a younger player. As he gets older, he's going to get better at that, understanding which throws he can make and which throws he can't make. I believe Mac Jones, though, as a football player, is going to continue to get a ton better. I don't believe in this argument that his ceiling is low, because he's so smart that the more that he picks up, and he's an extremely hard worker, he's going to continue to improve physically. He already has this offseason. Mac Jones just has everything you want in a pocket quarterback. The touch, the accuracy, the smarts, the pocket composure, the toughness in the pocket. The pocket feet are really good. His ability to avoid a hit or just for a split second move up in the pocket to deliver a throw is really good. Mac Jones is already a really good quarterback at his age and is only going to get a lot better in the Patriots system. My number 15 quarterback in the NFL today is Matt Ryan of the Indianapolis Colts. I look at Matt Ryan and compare him to Mac Jones and say, okay, Mac is younger. He's probably on the come up, but Matt Ryan does some things and has some nuances to his game as a similar player that is above Mac Jones. So that is really where I differentiate the two. I look at Matt Ryan as well as a player that moves from Atlanta to Indianapolis, where he's going to hide some of the weaknesses that we've seen in Atlanta. And what I mean by that is when you're on a better team with a better supporting cast and better coaching, things are going to be easier for you as a quarterback, not harder. And Matt Ryan, a lot of it was made hard for him because his team sucked. His offensive line wasn't very good. The receiving core fell apart a year ago. This year, he's got a better offensive line in front of him. He doesn't have to worry about all the pressure in the world. He can manipulate the pocket a little bit more. He can extend plays a little bit more. And I feel Matt Ryan physically has always been a little bit underrated. Some of his tools are deteriorating a little bit, especially the arm. You see that ability to power the football in the middle of the field, that intermediate range. It's a little bit less than it used to be, but it's still good enough. Love his composure in the pocket. I love how he reads defenses. I love how he goes through his reads. Always accurate with the football. He's really, really good at stepping up into the pocket and delivering a throw, especially over the middle of the field. He kind of kept his team in a lot of games last year. A lot of times when they won the game, it was because of Matt Ryan. So he's still got that capability of putting a team on his back in some way, shape, or form. And again, being more of the, I'm on a better team now, it's going to motivate him to be at his best this year. And I could see him actually being better this year, at least statistically, than he's been the last few years. And everybody's like, oh, Matt Ryan had his best year in years. But he was really always the same talent. He's just in a better situation. So overall, Matt Ryan still got it, still a good player. Not quite physically what he used to be, but mentally as sharp as ever, still up there with the best of them at the line of scrimmage. And I feel maybe even as a leader has gotten better, which will help him on his new team. At number 14, Kirk Cousins of the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins is a absolute robot machine of a passer and of a quarterback. The positives of a robot and the negatives of a robot. He's extremely accurate, on the money, nearly all the time in every facet. He's very consistent with his mechanics. He's very good with his reads, one of the best in the NFL. What separates him from Matt Ryan, he's got more power on his football at this point, and I feel like he's more aggressive. He's more willing to let the ball go and just drill it in there when he needs to. He's really good on play action. Kirk Cousins is about the peak of a system quarterback can get. He gets everything you possibly can out of an offense without actually exceeding the offense. The bad things of a robot. Not good in terms of just making that key difference-making play outside of structure when the team needs it the most. He sometimes maybe takes the conservative way out when he should maybe try to force a ball in to make a play at a crucial moment. Maybe he'll take a sack, or he'll do something that maybe protects his stats more so than help his team win. So Kirk Cousins is a really good quarterback. And I think oftentimes people sleep on just how good Kirk Cousins is. And you can see it in his track record and in his performance and in his statistics over the last, 8 years. He's been really, really good. And when he's surrounded by a good team, he'll get you to the playoffs and he'll make things happen. But he's never been able to exceed that. He's never been able to actually live up to the amount of money that he's asking for and getting and carry a team to the next level. So Kirk Cousins is number 14. Really, really good, but not special. At number 13, Deshaun Watson of the Cleveland Browns. This might be a little bit shocking to people because I understand that he might be in the top 5, the top 10 for some people. But for me, Shaun Watson hasn't played in a while. There's a lot of things that are negative about him being in Cleveland. And I'm trying to evaluate the player, but to be honest, the person comes with the player to the team. And there's a lot of baggage there outside of just how he plays quarterback on the field that could affect the team negatively. And that's why number 13 is about right to me, because we don't know what he looks like as a player. We haven't seen him in a year. Last time he played, he was really good individually, but the team didn't do very well. How much of that is the baggage that he brings? Now, as a talent, we know he can be special. He's incredible at ad-libbing, at being the magician, at extending plays, at making something out of nothing. He's got a great arm. He's got very quick feet and a pretty good ability to scramble and break something open with his legs. He's good in the pocket, especially manipulating pressure and pass rushers to get by. Deshaun Watson is really good at football. There are some areas of weakness. I feel is not the most consistent for the elite of the elite quarterbacks in terms of accuracy, in terms of consistently getting the most out of the layups in an offense. He's really good at maximizing big plays, but not always the easy ones. Overall, with Deshaun Watson, there's a lot to consider. There's some great, there's some not so great. But overall, I feel like because we haven't seen him in quite some time, along with how his off the field may impact his team, I'm just going to be conservative and place him at number 13. We also don't even know if he's going to play this year, so that also has an impact. My number 12 starting quarterback in the NFL today is Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray is the jitterbug of the NFL. He's the quickest quarterback in the game. He can make people miss inside, outside the pocket, can manipulate defenders, pass rushers. They're chasing him around in circles. He's a little road runner out there. He's impossible to catch. He demands attention in the run game. And as a passer, he's really good. He's got a strong arm. He's got great ability with arm angles to deliver that football in the quick game down the field. I think he's slept on in terms of his deep ball and his touch down the field. But there are areas where Kyler Murray is just lacking in terms of becoming that elite player, especially in terms of his in the pocket presence and ability to make plays from that pocket, throwing the football, especially down the middle and intermediate ranges of the field. Kyler, because he's smaller, is not great at hanging in the pocket and delivering a throw on the money when it matters most. And a lot of the NFL at the end of games, 2-minute drill. This stuff is huge. And Kyler Murray is just not great in that department, and it causes some of his bad play. When teams focus on keeping him in the pocket and suffocating that pocket and not letting him fall back on his legs or his incredible mobility to scramble and throw on the move, he's just an average quarterback. Kyler Murray has special skills, and he's a very unique player in this league, but he also has big weaknesses that are identifiable in his game that defenses can attack. On top of that, his off the field leadership certainly leaves something to be desired. So at number 12 is Kyler Murray. My number 11 quarterback in the NFL today is Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott is almost the opposite of Kyler Murray when it comes to his pocket ability. Dak is one of the best pocket quarterbacks in the NFL today. His pocket toughness is off the charts. He can take a hit and make a throw. He's really good with his feet and keeping his mechanics very sound within that pocket to step up, left, right, to be able to make a throw. This is why, with the weapons he's had, he's been such a dangerous pocket passer, because when it's in the structure of a play, he is cash money all the time. And really, he's great in the quick game, screen game. In those situations where he has to hang in that pocket and make a throw, he can do it without having to leave the pocket. And that is huge for me when evaluating quarterbacks, because that means with the Super Bowl on the line, with 2 minutes left, it doesn't matter if the team's containing the pocket. He can stand in there and make all the throws all over the field, accurately, with touch, and with power. Dak is really good in that department. He's got a little bit of mobility. I don't think he has it the way he used to. I don't think he's quite the runner he used to be. He's not as aggressive. He's not as powerful with his legs, but he can still do it. He can convert as a runner, and he does it more so to pass the ball. I feel like with Dak, he has gotten to a level where he has plateaued. He has become a very good player, but not a great player. He hasn't been able to cross that line. I think that was really exemplified by the playoff game versus the 49ers. Things weren't going very well. He was facing pressure. It wasn't the best day for him or the offense or the play calling, but Dak wasn't able to just rise up and carry the team and beat a lesser quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo. And there were games throughout the year where, against the best, biggest competition, Dak wasn't always able to rise to the occasion. And we've seen it over the years where if he doesn't have a great receiving core or offensive line or run game, he's not the same guy. We've seen him struggle at times, and I feel like it's because Dak is really good, but he's not elite. He's not truly that special quarterback where it just doesn't matter who's on his team, who he's playing. He's never had that moment, to me, in a big game where he has truly just carried the Cowboys to a ton of success. And I'm still waiting for that moment. When that moment comes, if it ever does, I will then say, hey, Dak has become that different player. But he hasn't yet. He's really darn good. Inside structure, outside structure. But in those moments of crisis, in those moments where he needs to step up, hasn't been able to do it yet. So that's why I have him at number 11. Entering my top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, Russell Wilson is my number 10. Russell Wilson, of course, now of the Denver Broncos, I felt is coming off maybe his most lackluster season of his career in terms of excitement, in terms of quality. I feel like his numbers and his play certainly better than very early in his career, but in terms of the Russ that we saw, it felt like a step back from prime Russell Wilson, and that's what has me a little bit concerned entering a new situation in Denver. But then again, maybe a lot of that had to do with he was tired of Seattle, he needed a change, he wanted to go somewhere else, the system sucked, the team was bad, the offensive line was bad. So there's a lot of factors that could have gone against a good season for Russell Wilson in 2021. But I just felt like watching him, he was not the same elite player, where I've had him in the top 5, top 7 quarterbacks, top 3 even in the NFL for the past 4 or 5 years doing these videos. And I don't think I can place him there any longer. Is he still amazing on the deep ball? Absolutely spectacular. Can he still escape the pocket and make plays on the move like nobody's business? Absolutely. Can he still amazing clutch moments and put the ball in spots where you're just like, how did he do that? Yes, he can. But I don't think he quite has the escapability he used to have, where it was just uncanny. I think with Russ this past season, there was more of a conservative nature to his game, especially when it came to throwing the ball in the middle of the field in the intermediate range. And I feel like a lot like Kyler Murray, because he's a smaller, shorter quarterback, he has always tend to struggle in that area more than down the perimeter, down the sidelines, where he's amazing. That's a little bit of an area of weakness. I do also feel like Russell Wilson could be better at just taking the short game a little bit more and the quick game and just getting rid of the ball a little bit more. Sometimes he tends to hold on to it too long, looking and searching for the big play that isn't there. And that has been a fault of the offense, but also a fault of Russell Wilson's, where sometimes, man, you just got to take the check down or the quick throw and live with it and move to the next play, and not try to make the superhuman play every single time or the crazy throw on the money. So Russell Wilson is still a spectacular player. I feel like he's a spectacular clutch player, a spectacular leader. He's going to elevate the Broncos organization and team, and he's going to be a great quarterback for them, but I'm just not 100% sure if he hasn't already left his prime. I feel like he has. My number 9 quarterback in the NFL today is Derek Carr of the Las Vegas Raiders. Derek Carr, I'm going to say this right now. Children, please cover your ears. Derek Carr is a lot fucking better than everybody thinks Derek Carr is. I am sick of people underrating and underestimating Derek Carr. This season from Derek Carr was the most underrated season of the past year in the NFL by a quarterback. Derek Carr was top 5 in passing yards. Derek Carr was top 5 in completion percentage. Derek Carr took the Las Vegas Raiders to the playoffs in the AFC West with his receiver going to jail, his coach getting kicked off the team, and countless injuries and bad karma. I have no idea how the Raiders made the playoffs last year. I think they won 4 overtime games thanks to Derek Carr. And yet still, people do not think Derek Carr is an elite quarterback. Derek Carr last year elevated himself in my mind from very good to this guy is an absolute baller. There were games last year where he went toe-to-toe with some of the best quarterbacks in the league. He outplayed them, and he won the game. Week 1 versus Lamar Jackson. Thanksgiving versus Dak Prescott. The last game of the regular season versus Justin Herbert, where Herbert was amazing, don't get me wrong, and all those quarterbacks played well in those games because the Raiders' defense was not very good. But Derek Carr was even better, and he came out the winner. Derek Carr just won, man. And to me, his leadership has been the biggest thing that I've noticed. He has been such a great leader over the past 2 seasons. He has grown as a human being, And I think that's helped his football game. He's become a more aggressive player as a passer, and he puts the ball on the money. Derek Carr really has very limited, small weaknesses. He does not have many at all. And he really plays the position the way I love to see the position played. He's cerebral. He's very good at the line of scrimmage. He's very smart. He always gets the offense in the right play. He's very accurate. He's got a good arm. He's got great touch on the football. He's clutch. I mean, every area I really, really like Derek Carr. Is he the most superhuman athlete in the world? And has he accomplished the most in the past year or two? Neither of those things are true. That's why he's not higher on the list. But he, to me, is a top 10 quarterback. I couldn't put him any lower than number 9 because of what he proved to me last year. I am a huge Derek Carr fan. Derek Carr is my new Matthew Stafford moving forward. I love this guy. My number 8 quarterback in the NFL today is Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson is quite simply the most electrifying quarterback and potentially player in the NFL today. Every time you turn on the television to watch Lamar Jackson, you are going to see something special that nobody else in the NFL, let me say that again, nobody else in the NFL can do. And Lamar has a lot of haters because a lot of people think Lamar Jackson is a running back. This is not true. If you watched last year, just go back and watch the Indianapolis Colts game. It's the only game you gotta watch, I promise you. He drops back in empty formation and throws the football consistently until his team wins the game. What I absolutely loved about Lamar Jackson last year was his heart. He put his heart and soul into every game he played. The team was not very good. The defense was beat up. The offensive line, especially the right side, was atrocious and hurt. The running backs were hurt. His receiving core is okay. But like Lamar Jackson had some games where heart and soul, amazing comebacks, MVP performances. And yes, he made more mistakes this year than he had in years past, but a lot of that was due to his team was lesser around him, so he was having to be forced to make more plays. Unfortunately, he got hurt, but I think he'll be fine coming back from injury in 2022 and just as electric as ever. I really like Lamar's game. I think he's only getting better as a passer overall, and he's still as dynamic as ever as a runner. So Lamar Jackson is my number 8. The number 7 quarterback in the NFL today is Matthew Stafford, your Super Bowl champion. Matthew Stafford is the number 7 quarterback, and I remember a couple years back putting Matthew Stafford really high on my list. I want to say number 6, number 7, somewhere in that range, and telling you guys about why Matthew Stafford was underrated. And now I feel like I'm justified. I don't really have to say that much because now everybody has seen it. Matthew Stafford was always very good at football. He finally got a very good team. And in the biggest of moments, nobody was better this year than Matthew Stafford. Not Tom Brady, not Patrick Mahomes, not Joe Burrow. Nobody was better than Matthew Stafford. He was clutch. Game after game, time after time, in the biggest moments, Stafford came through. Did he make mistakes over the course of the year? Of course he did. Did he have to learn some things and gain some rapport with his teammates? He certainly did. But he was clutch when it mattered, and he won that Super Bowl. And the thing about Matthew Stafford is just how good he is in the pocket. Matthew Stafford is tough. Matthew Stafford has incredible delivery with all the different arm angles, from the different ways he can throw a screen pass to the different ways he can throw an in cut to the different ways he can throw a crosser or a jump ball. Matthew Stafford can deliver the ball whichever way you like it on a silver platter. And the amount of amazing throws into tight windows that Matthew Stafford made last year was off the charts. If you wonder why Cooper Kupp had a historic season, it's because of Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford put the ball on the money, and his rapport with that receiver was undeniably, spectacularly legendary. And he had that same type of rapport with Calvin Johnson. There's no coincidence that this happened with the same quarterback, because Stafford's willingness to throw his guy the ball, on top of putting the ball in a spot where it's just unbelievable most of the time, is why Kupp was so darn successful, on top of Kupp being amazing. His arm strength opened up so much more of the playbook for the Rams than it really was able to with Jared Goff. That's something that a lot of people don't understand. That's why the Rams were the better team. Maybe not the better statistical offense as a couple years ago, but in terms of the better team, Stafford's ability to make those big plays and to be able to hit certain areas of the field when they needed it the most was the difference between wins and losses this year. And his ability under pressure turned out to be the biggest difference as well. Both actual pressure throwing the football and big game pressure, which Jared Goff was absolutely the worst at. So Matthew Stafford is my number 7 quarterback. My number 6 quarterback in the NFL today is Justin Herbert of the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert is something else. This guy is amazing. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was the number 1 quarterback on this countdown next year. He's that good. He really has no areas of weakness in his game physically. He's fast enough. He's big. He's got a cannon. He's accurate with the football on all levels. He really carries his football team. I feel like a lot of people think or thought the Chargers were better than they were a year ago, but it was just Herbert making throw after throw after throw, dime after dime after dime, play after play after play, under pressure, sitting in the pocket, taking a hit, extending the play. Herbert can make plays that not many humans can make, and he combines that incredible arm strength, incredible arm talent with that incredible size and that great mind. I think he's a lot smarter than a lot of people give him credit for as well. And he's already at such an advanced level as a young player. I really have nothing bad to say about him other than he has not proven yet that he is a big winner. But other than that, just like I told you with Matthew Stafford, this guy's a Super Bowl quarterback. Just wait until the team is there for him, and he's going to take that team as far as he can because he's really good. Entering the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL today, my number 5 is Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow is... I didn't expect Joe Burrow to have the season he had this year, to put the NFL on notice the way Joe Burrow did this year. I was a huge fan of Joe Burrow coming out of the draft. Absolutely huge. Had all the intangibles I love to see. He has this different level of aura. You know, it's almost a meme at this point, but the guy has that aura. It's different. And players respond to it. On top of that leadership, on top of that, we will win this game. On top of that, he is darn good at quarterback. Like, he's really tough. He can extend plays, I think, deceptively better than people would think. He's really accurate, especially in the middle of the field. Doesn't have a super strong arm, but just puts that ball into tight windows extremely well in the middle of the field. Has insane rapport and chemistry with Jamar Chase and just trusts him to make plays and seems to always put the ball in the right spot for him. With such a bad offensive line, his toughness, man, and his just relentlessness and his willingness to compete and his constant day after day, down after down, just get back up, get back up, get back up. Man was looking like Rocky Balboa versus the Tennessee Titans. The guy has it. He just has it. He has the balls, he has the testicles, he has the swagger, and he has the skills of a special all-time quarterback. And to me, right now, he's the number 5 in the NFL. only because he hasn't proven it year after year after year yet like some of these other guys have. My number 4 quarterback in the NFL today is Aaron Rodgers. Speaking of proving it year after year after year, how about back-to-back MVP? That sounds pretty good for Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers is still darn good at football, if you didn't realize. He is extremely, extremely smart at the line of scrimmage with his decision-making. He's post-snap an extraordinary decision maker when it comes to where to throw the ball, but not only that, how to place the ball, what type of touch do I put on this ball, how much power do I put on this ball. There's a reason he doesn't get intercepted, because he's so mechanically flawless, he's so accurate, he can throw the ball anywhere on the field thanks to his arm strength and his arm angles and his ability to almost throw with only half his body. A lot of the times he doesn't even need his legs to throw the ball. He can still do this at an advanced age. That's why the ball doesn't get intercepted, because it goes wherever he wants it to go. And he's so smart at reading that defense and where to go with the ball. It also helped that he had Davante Adams, which I'm a little bit concerned that he doesn't have Davante Adams anymore, how that's going to look, how he gains rapport with these guys. But he's got a great offensive structure around him that he really utilizes to its utmost potential with Matt LaFleur. And I will say the reason he's perhaps number 4 instead of number 1 or number 2, there's a couple reasons. I think one, he does rely on the system more now than he used to in his prime days, where he was just kind of like the guy and did whatever he wanted physically. Now he gets a lot more out of RPOs and screens and little makeshift plays that help his stats that he doesn't really do much. You know, the team runs the ball a lot, and they don't always rely on Rodgers to carry the team play after play, throw after throw, like some of the other guys above him on the list. On top of that, there's clearly a problem with him when it comes to clutch games lately, where he can't seem to get it going. He can't seem to be at his best. He can't seem to be the same player. There's clearly something where he gets rattled, especially if he falls behind early. All those things to me are reasons why he is not number 1 or number 2 on this list. Leadership is another thing that I don't think he's particularly strong with. But when it comes to all the quarterback skills, mentally, physically, he's still got it physically. He's up there mentally with the best of them and is at the best of his career. And that's why he's back-to-back MVP. Because his execution of this offense, on top of what he can do physically on top of that, is superb. So Rodgers is number 4. Coming in at number 3, Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is not the best quarterback in the NFL. And the reason he's at number 3 is because of the struggles he went through this season. He went through a ton of struggles, way more than we've ever seen Patrick Mahomes go through. And it's not like he was without Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Andy Reid, a good offensive line. He has all the pieces to work with. And yet, the stretches that the Chiefs were not very good, it was because of Patrick Mahomes. That's why he's number 3. Now, were there still a lot of amazing things? Yes, as always. Cannon for an arm. Best arm angles in the game. Best vision and patience to see that little opening open up and thread it through. Really, really, really dynamic on the move, throwing the football, and the best ad-lib player, magician in the game. That's why some people may have him first. But for me, Mahomes went through an evolution this year. Teams realized he is not very smart when it comes to just taking what's there. Just take the check down. Take the check down. Beat us with the check down. And Mahomes refused to do that for a lot of this season. And that's where we saw him struggle. His offensive line was the best it's been maybe of his career this past season. And yet Mahomes still ran into pressure, still created his own pressure. Those are nuances to the position that I feel like people that put Mahomes first or even second are missing, in my opinion. I love his playmaking ability. I love it. It's amazing. And that's what makes him so special and so unique. But the little areas of the quarterback position, the willingness to take that little 5-yard check down, he got better at it as the year went on. Then all of a sudden, in the AFC Championship, the Bengals started to rush 3 and drop 8. And Mahomes was flustered. And Mahomes, in the biggest moment, we've never seen him crumble, and he crumbled. And that was a very strange moment, because it showed me that, well, this thing is a bigger deal than we realized during the regular season. He wasn't able to beat the Bengals last year. Very strange. We really hadn't seen that either. There were a lot of firsts in a negative way for Patrick Mahomes last year. And that's maybe why he's at number 3 instead of number 2 or number 1. But overall, still an incredible player. He's going to probably be better this year than he was last year. Because like I said, there were a lot of negatives last year. Even though he's missing Tyreek Hill, which is another question. Can he get over that? I feel like he is going to be better off for it because he'll be a better quarterback. Not a better playmaker, but a better quarterback. And that's what I'm ranking here. My number 2 quarterback in the NFL today is the greatest quarterback in NFL history, Tom Brady, of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady, in my opinion, was the best quarterback in the NFL last year. I thought he deserved to win the MVP award. He led the NFL in yards, led the NFL in touchdowns, and did a lot of other things. But the number one most impressive thing to me about Tom Brady last year was how much he carried his football team. The Bucs threw the ball more than anybody in the NFL. And despite Tom Brady consistently having to throw the ball 40 to 50 times in a game, the Bucs would not only win these games versus good teams, but sometimes crush the team. And that, to me, just screams value. Valuable. That is what Tom Brady was last year. The secondary fell apart. The defense wasn't as good. The receiving core dealt with a ton of injuries. Antonio Brown was an absolute mess. And Tom Brady, ho-hum, I win 13 games. And really, they could have went further in the playoffs if they were a little bit more fortunate. Tom Brady is spectacular still. His pocket presence is still incredible. His arm, I mean, did it get better? Did it get stronger? He's still incredibly accurate. We know this. He's the best at the line of scrimmage, the best post-snap at reading a defense. He's the smartest quarterback there is. And he's tough still. I think the thing where people say he's scared to get hit is maybe a little bit overblown. At his advanced age, he's not the same quarterback when it comes to against pressure. He's just fearless the way he used to be in his absolute prime. That's really his only weakness. I felt like he actually got more mobile this year. I felt like his ability to move around the pocket and slip defenders and actually scramble, and that actually shows in his rushing yards this past season. He was a better runner this year, a better scrambler this year, a better player at getting, around a pass rush and then throwing the ball on the move, more than I've ever seen him do, really, and I've seen his whole career. So Tom Brady is still playing at an absolutely ridiculous level. To me, was the MVP last year. The only reason he is not first is because of his age entering 2022 and because of that pressure thing, where I feel like if he's on a lesser team, when he has problems at the receiving core, when he has problems on the offensive line, how a defense can attack him and he can play lesser, matters more now than it used to. I will say this about Brady. He's the best quarterback in the league with the max of everything. But he's not the best quarterback in the league if you give him the worst of everything. And that's why he's not first, but he's second. The number 1 quarterback in the NFL entering 2022 is Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. The reason Josh Allen is my number 1 quarterback in the NFL is because he is the biggest one-man show in the NFL. His ability to put the team on his back is unlike any other quarterback in the league. His ability as a passer and as a runner. He is one of the best runners in the league at his position and also one of the best passers in the NFL. I don't think any other quarterback is in the top 3 in both of those categories. Josh Allen is a specimen to take down in the open field as a runner. He is the Buffalo Bills running game. They ran him into the ground in the playoffs. And then he's also the guy that drops back 40 times and can dice you up. Josh Allen, to me, evolved greatly last year. Not only can he make big play after big play, big throw after big throw, but he can also be patient, stay in the pocket, not leave the pocket and panic and make a play like I feel Patrick Mahomes does. Josh Allen is better in the pocket at just standing there, being that statue, going through his reads, finding the open guy, and beating you 1,000 paper cuts down the field throughout the game, frustrating a defense to open up and then hitting them with the big play when it opens up. 100% amazing, both mentally and physically. That is rare. That is rare. Did he have bad games last year? Yes. But again, because he's such a one-man show, because he has to do everything for his offense, he's probably going to have a couple bad games in a season. But when Josh Allen is at his best, nobody is better. If every quarterback plays the best they possibly can in a game, Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the NFL. And he did that consistently last year, to the point where I don't think anybody could stop him the way he was playing in the playoffs. It just so happens that his coach decided to not kick the ball straight up into the air with 13 seconds left. Or he would have won, and the narrative with him not being able to defeat Patrick Mahomes would have changed, because ultimately he did the most he could in that scenario. That to me doesn't really matter, because I felt like Allen outperformed Mahomes all season long, including that game. I felt like he outperformed him and had to do more for his team. I do know that a lot of people are going to say, why is Allen above Mahomes? And it really is because he's more mature as a pocket passer. He's more willing to take the check down. He's more willing to sit in the pocket and defeat a defense. On top of that, he has to do more for his team. The Chiefs have Andy Reid, an offensive genius. They have a better offensive line. They have a better running game. They had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, where the Bills only really have Diggs. I mean, Cole Beasley older, Emmanuel Sanders older. Like, there was nothing that special on Buffalo besides Diggs to really pay attention to. It's Josh Allen and his legs. Mahomes doesn't offer that. So that's why Allen is number 1. To me, the best one-man show in the league, the best quarterback in the league entering this season is Josh Allen. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it so much. Gronk, spike the like button and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more NFL rankings just like this. Peace.